The infamous scene that got Bewitched canceled. Millions of fans pressed their faces to the television throughout the Bewitched season, eager to see what mischief Samantha would get into next. You could have even tried your hand at the well-known nose wiggle. However, a lot was going on behind the scenes, even if it looked like a lot of fun to film the show. The real reason behind the demise of the show was one of the many magical secrets that Bewitched's creators attempted to hide. Montgomery pregnancy. During her stay on the show, Montgomery gave birth 3 times, but only 2 of her pregnancies were featured: Tabitha and Adam's miraculous delivery. You wouldn't believe the actress was expecting in season 1. The network felt it was unsightly for Sam and Darren to be expecting a child so soon after saying "I do." So they covered up the entire episode on TV. Odd, yet that was the standard at the time. Ouch! After 5 seasons on the show, Dick York abruptly left the scene. When the producers did eventually get their Darren, it was none other than Dick Sargent. But there's a tragic explanation. York was involved in a serious shooting accident. They arrived at Cordura and severed a large number of his back's right muscles. Painkillers were provided by doctors, but the actor never recovered completely. The final straw. York endured a 105-degree heat while working on the 5th season. While he was sitting on the set, the flashing lights got to be too much. After being taken to the hospital due to a seizure, York abruptly resigned as if by magic. Seeing double. Did you know that Elizabeth Montgomery, the star of the program, also portrayed a different role on Bewitched? She also made appearances as the spectral Pandora Spox and Serena, Samantha's cousin. Agnes Moorehead couldn't stand Dick Sargent. As a stand-in for Dick York, most viewers came to enjoy Dick Sargent, but Samantha's mother, Endora, played by Agnes Moorehead, was not fond of the new Darren. There were consequently some awkward times there. Sargent told the Chicago Outlines, "About the 3rd or 4th show in, Moorehead said to the people in front of me, 'They should never meddle with success.' How could she have meant that?" Retire filming. You should be aware, though, that Montgomery nearly rejected the Bewitched element. Pilato revealed to the British tabloid Daily Mail that the star had intended to end his career as a performer even before the show's filming had underway. We're happy that her spouse, Asher, was able to convince her to change her mind in the end. Forget Dick York. Dick York, the original Darren actor, left Bewitched abruptly because of an addiction to painkillers and back trouble. The designers faced a dilemma as a result. Would viewers prefer Dick Sargent as the stand-in, or would they prefer York to make a comeback? Every episode that included York that ABC reran was done to make sure the public was behind Sargent before he even appeared on screen. Cunning. Drunk on set. There were significant differences in the 1960s in attitudes around office drinking, as everyone who's watched an episode of Mad Men knows. That explains why the actors in Bewitched had real alcohol while playing people who had drinks. Indeed, during a few scenes, the actors were, to put it mildly, inebriated. First choice to play Samantha. It's hard to imagine someone else's nose moving in such a charming way, but the Bewitched producers had another actress in mind for the lead part. Stepping forward is Tammy Grimes, who passed on the part because of Samantha's motives. She felt like if the character had all this power, why doesn't she cure all the ills of the world? Writer and vintage TV enthusiast Herbie J. Pilato said to Fox News. That's a really good point. That's gotta hurt. Samantha would similarly raise her arms as the magic took hold of her. She was required to stand still as the crew members attended to the scene. What a great arm workout. War on set. Montgomery didn't appear to be in a love relationship with Moorehead, his on-screen mother. The Samantha actress once made a subtle jab at Moorehead's less-than-ideal behavior while on set. Montgomery shot back an angry look before saying, "Don't you look at me that way." Filming until dead. Alice Pierce is passionate about her work. The actor battled cancer while she was Gladys. Amazingly, she was still shooting the day she passed away from the illness. But once Pierce tragically passed away, Sandra Gould took her position because the play had to go on. Alice won a posthumous Emmy for Best Performance by an actress in a supporting role in a comedy 2 months after her passing. Special furniture on the set. York's back problems were so severe that he needed specialized gear for filming. He even required assistance from his fellow actors to get about the Bewitched set. Now you see why Darren was sat on his back the entire time on the program. The show inspired. As an anime enthusiast, you've probably heard of the magical girl subgenre. You might be surprised to learn that a 1960s American comedy served as the inspiration for this specific Japanese animation technique. Yes, Bewitched indeed gave rise to the idea that young girls could have magical powers. The Murphy twins. Aaron and Diane Murphy took turns playing Tabitha throughout Bewitched. It's also understandable that they have outlasted all their co-stars, considering that they were by far the youngest members of the core group. That's accurate. With the passing of Bernard Fox in 2016, the Murphys are the only members of the Bewitched cast still alive. Love with Montgomery. Montgomery was an idol to many guys, including one of her co-stars. Yes, it said that York was deeply in love with the actress, but they weren't shared. Pilato stated on Fox News that Montgomery was married to the show's producer, and it became very uncomfortable for her. Strange. Inspiration for the famous movie. Montgomery must have given the credit for that twitch. Historian Herbie Pilato argues that Montgomery's odd actions sprang from a reflexive movement she would make when she was nervous. Thus, Montgomery's husband, director William Asher, incorporated her tic into the production. The remainder is the history of television. Lesser-known spin-off. It's conceivable that even the most committed Bewitched fans are unaware of the spin-off. Indeed, there was a brief sister show that ran on ABC in the late 1970s. As the title suggests, Tabitha witnessed Samantha and Darren's daughter take center stage. But Lisa Hartman, not the Murphy sisters, stepped into the role. In 2020, she may have been on The Masked Singer. Montgomery affair. Let's just say that Elizabeth Montgomery and Bill Asher had a rocky marriage. The accusations state that Asher cheated on her more than once. The Bewitched actress may have retaliated by having an affair with another producer of the program, Richard Michaels. Asher and Montgomery's relationship eventually broke down, and the two continued dating for years. Famous actress played Tabitha. Without Tabitha, the daughter of Samantha and Darren, Bewitched wouldn't be the same. We just can't imagine anyone else carrying out this task but Aaron Murphy. However, did you know that Jodie Foster, who played Silence of the Lambs in the future, was almost cast? Yes. In fact, Helen Hunt was also a candidate for the Tabitha role. Unexpected in common. Bewitched's blend of humor and fantasy led to a lot of copycat shows, such as NBC's I Dream of Jeannie. Along with the apparent ties to the story and characters, Jeannie also revealed information to Bewitched that only keen viewers would see. The two sitcoms were able to exchange sets and props since their sound stages were so near to one another. Loose-lipped. Aaron Murphy disclosed that although Samantha was known for twitching her nose to summon her powers, Montgomery moved her upper lip. Director William Asher described it as a twitch of nerves. Quiz contestant. Which of these popular 1960s television shows debuted first? Have you seen Bewitched, Get Smart, Hogan's Heroes, or I Dream of Jeannie? On Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that was the question separating Australian Rob Fulton from the grand prize. So, after giving it some thought, the contender decided on Bewitched as the answer. He was right, too. Remember that for your upcoming trivia night. Darren swap trend. Some spectators were tricked by the transformation from York to Sargent, but more astute viewers saw the distinctions between the two performers right away. Some people found the transformation to be so shocking that the term Darren syndrome, which refers to the process of replacing key performers with new stars, soon entered the vernacular of Hollywood. Stingy on set. In actuality, Hollywood isn't all that glamorous, especially for supporting actors. They'd have to bring their clothes from home to shoot in on location. However, some of the apparel had a somewhat different style. Agnes Moorehead played Samantha's mother, Endora, and she wore a special brooch. She bequeathed the pin to her on-screen daughter after her death, said she knew Elizabeth Montgomery was enamored with its beauty. Theme song. Do you recall the memorable theme music that aired during the opening credits? There are several renditions in circulation, including lyrics penned by Howard Greenfield. Among those who sang lines like "Bewitched, bewitched, you've got me in your spell," "Bewitched, bewitched, you know your craft so well" were Peggy Lee and Steve Lawrence. We won't ever hear it the same way again. The nipple. At the end of her tenure, Montgomery stopped wearing a bra while filming Bewitched. She did it to advance the cause of women's rights, yet it still caused some controversy. Montgomery's ego. Montgomery played Serena, Samantha's livelier cousin, and carried out two roles. Many fans were shocked, though, when the performer asked to be paid for her roles as Pandora Spock. Some of them thought that a different actress was playing Serena, so the fans wrote letters straight to Spock. Show was interrupted. Even while Bewitched wasn't exactly meet the press, politics had an impact on the 8-year run of the program. The show not only aired during the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr., but also started production on the same day as John F. Kennedy. The death of the civil rights leader necessitated a postponement of the 1968 episode, I Confess. Picked name. After Montgomery was given the honor of naming her on-screen child, she looked to another star for inspiration. The Bewitched main actress was utterly engrossed in the middle name Andrew Edwards had given his two daughters, Tabitha and Abigail. Montgomery described her choice as so old-fashioned, which is why I loved it. Nose twitch. Samantha was known for twitching her nose before something extraordinary was about to occur. Although a lot of admirers tried to mimic Elizabeth Montgomery's distinctive dance, they should know that it was all the result of studio tricks. Consider us disappointed. However, it is true, in an interview with Parade, Aaron Murphy, who played Samantha's daughter Tabitha, asserted that the nose twitch was a camera trick. Take advantage. Every TV project has benefits, and working on Bewitched was no different. According to actor Casey Rogers, "I wore all my clothes on the show." Bewitched Net reported, "A week in advance, you would bring your clothes, and the wardrobe would see to it that they were properly cleaned, ironed, and ready for you. Going into acting as a career just to get out of doing laundry? We'll be honest, we're tempted." Offer she couldn't refuse. Elizabeth Montgomery quickly lost love with the show, even though it brought her great recognition and financial success. How come? She desired a challenging role that would put her to the test. Montgomery therefore decided to leave Bewitched after the 5th season. She would only have returned if she had received a big pay raise. TV history. Though it's difficult to believe now, separated spouses didn't show up on American television until the middle of the 1960s. Well, until Bewitched, that is. Endora and Maurice, Samantha's quarreling parents, are the ones who contributed to the comedy's history on television. Sargent died from. As you may know, Darren's second actor, Dick Sargent, passed away from AIDS. However, that's untrue, as Pilato told Fox News. "Yes, Sargent was a man who happened to be gay," he replied, "but that's been a misconception all these years." The actor passed away in 1994 from prostate cancer. Devil worship. It doesn't get much more family-friendly than when it comes to Bewitch's antics. However, a few people believe the show was the work of Beelzebub before the first episode aired. There were protests in several parts of the Bible Belt because it was believed that the program would elevate the practice of demon worshiping. Two roles. Paul Lynde quickly gained popularity as the eccentric Uncle Arthur and became a sought-after recurring role. In addition to Arthur, comedy fans will know that Lynde had other roles. On Bewitched, the actor made his debut as a nervous driving instructor in the episode Driving is the Only Way to Fly. It seems he impressed the higher authorities so much that he eventually secured a more senior role. Spoofed in WandaVision. A whole new audience was introduced to Bewitched through a hilarious new show that parodied the classic comedy. Elizabeth Olsen's action in the second WandaVision episode was inspired by her namesake, Montgomery. Special effects were created using strings, just like in Bewitched, to finish the tribute. Jealous father. Actor Robert Montgomery, Montgomery's father, never wanted his daughter to become an actor. According to Pilato, the top-secret actor desired his daughter to lead a typical married life away from the spotlight. And when Montgomery outperformed him in achievement, he was not happy about it. The supremacy of Bewitched in the ratings seems to have made the father of the lead actress very envious. Hated title sequence. You've seen the iconic animated opener, even if you've never watched an episode of Bewitched, maybe because you were too young. The idea was the brainchild of Hanna-Barbera. One person, though, was not happy. Who is this unidentified hater? Please, Elizabeth Montgomery. Montgomery allegedly believed that the production team of the show could have thought of something more creative. A nose job. When it came to twitching her nose, Montgomery might have gotten help. The actress is said to have undergone numerous cosmetic surgery procedures, including a nose job when she was on Bewitched. The show even made a hint about this. Samantha is questioned 3 times about her knowledge of Dr. Hafner, a plastic surgeon. That seems a little rude. A weird hobby. Similar to Paul Lynde, Marion Lorne gained popularity on Bewitched quite fast. She won a posthumous Emmy for her performance as Aunt Clara. However, did you know that Clara's well-known passion for collecting antique doorknobs was inspired by Lorne's real pastime? So much so that the performer would frequently use props from her collection. The Partridge Family. There are numerous parallels between Bewitched and another well-known show. Recall the house where the Kravitzes lived and Samantha's curious neighbors? It's from the Partridge Family, if you recall. Yes, those are the same doors that David Cassidy once entered. What a fortunate building. Very rich off the show. Montgomery appreciated Bewitched's benefits long after the program was canceled, even if she had less enthusiasm for it near the end. With a 20% stake in the production, the actress was compensated millions through syndication, and it all added up. When Montgomery passed away in 1995, it was believed that she had a $40 million net worth. Initially reluctant to play Endora. Moorhead, a renowned actress who had previously collaborated with Orson Welles, reportedly hesitated to play Endora. This is what Herbie J. Pilato thinks. In the end, Moorhead gave her express permission to film the pilot, but she had little faith that it would be picked up. Fortunately, she was wrong. YouTube sketch. 2019 saw Erin Murphy parody her most well-known character in a self-deprecating YouTube video. In an episode of the web series TV Therapy, the actress played an adult Tabitha who sought therapy for her strange childhood experiences. Additionally, her father's appearance altered amusingly, referring to the transformation from York to Sergeant playing Darren. Borrowed heavily. As it happens, Bewitched isn't as exceptional as you may think. The concepts of Bell, Book, and Candle from 1958 and I Married a Witch from 1942 seem to have influenced the comedy's plot. Screen Gems created the program, therefore any claims of straight copying were nullified. That was a division of Columbia Pictures, the company that made both films. A Little Rascal. Yes, a key player in Bewitched success was a former member of our gang, or perhaps the Little Rascals. When Jackie Cooper assembled a comedy package for ABC, he was in charge of the programming department at Screen Gems. Luckily, one of these shows included the nose-crinkling antics of Samantha Stevens. 2 revivals. Do you recall the horrible Nicole Kidman Bewitched remake? Hollywood doesn't appear to have been deterred. Indeed, there are 2 remakes in development. The first is a small-screen adaptation that Blackish creator Kenya Barris will helm. The other is a full-length movie that stars Star Trek Picard showrunner Terry Matalas. Once flirted. Montgomery was a frequent sight on the Kid Galahad set. Given that her husband, Gig Young, was a celebrity, you'd think this was nothing out of the norm. Rumor has it that the Bewitched actress was more intent on making out with the movie's star. That's right, Elvis Presley captivated Montgomery, and others assert that the king had the same feelings. Whether the two ever dated is unknown. Lost son. David White, who gained notoriety for playing Darren's double-dealing boss, Larry Tate, was so devoted to his first child that he asked for his character's child to have his name. Jonathan, the real, authentic Jonathan, lost his life in the 1988 Lockerbie tragedy. Pilato subsequently told Closer, "That was one thing White never got over." He was in shock. Secretary married behind the scenes. Other real-life Bewitched couples were working on the set besides Montgomery and Asher. The actress who plays Betty, Darren's secretary, Jill Foster, wed director Bernard Slade in 1965. Like their more well-known peers, Foster and Slade were an unsuitable pairing. Regretfully, they divorced after their marriage. A-bomb-related death. Moorhead's tenure on the Conquerors set is rumored to have had a role in her uterine cancer death, and there could be a basis for it. John Wayne and Susan Hayward were among the other actors from the 1956 movie who passed away from cancer. People claim that after working at Snow Canyon, 91 crew members received diagnoses for different forms of the sickness. The Utah location, which was directly across the street from a Nevada nuclear weapons testing facility, was a bad choice, to put it mildly. Darren acted towards Samantha. Samantha's magical abilities were never one of Darren's favorite things, but who performed him first? It appeared that he wished the character had shown a little more empathy. York Pilato says in a Closer interview, always saw the show as a love story about two people who truly did adore each other, but he was frequently instructed to make Darren seem unforgiving. Friends off camera. Even though Darren and Endora were known for their disagreements on television, and off camera they were the greatest of friends. Strongly a fundamentalist, Moorhead respected York's acknowledgement of his spiritual side. She was captivated by his acting skills as well. Oh. Job by jumping on a lap. York ensured the casting team didn't overlook him at his Bewitched audition. He was going to play Darren. Pilato claims that after climbing onto Montgomery's lap, the actor exclaimed, "Aren't we cute together? I must work for you." Indeed, everyone who witnessed the hoax agreed. The rest is comedy history from the 1960s, as they say. Unlikely source. You almost certainly know the Bewitched theme music, even if you haven't seen the animated entrance. You're feeling tempted right now. But although the well-known earworm has now come to be connected to the show, it wasn't original. The upbeat tune was a parody of a Chevy commercial jingle. Chevy sponsored Bewitched, thus it begs the question of whether there was any subliminal messaging going on. First choice to play. It's difficult to see anyone else except George Tobias as Abner Kravitz, but the character actor wasn't the first person considered for the role. The producer's first choice was Jim Backus, but Thurston Howell III, that man, said no because of his duties on Gilligan's Island. Fired through no fault. It's impossible not to feel sad for Irene Vernon. She'd been Louise Tate's actress for 2 seasons before getting fired before the 3rd, and it was all because of an uncontrollable circumstance. The only reason Vernon was let go was because of her friendship with Danny Arnold. He was a producer who departed the 1st season of Bewitched. Ice Pop's company. It appears that Erin Murphy's bow has numerous strings tied to it. She showed off her entrepreneurial spirit in 2014 when she co-founded a business that makes ice pops that are both low in calories and thirst-quenching. children would never be given Slim Chillers. After all, they're experts in vodka martinis. The special effects. Samantha's magic may have required the employment of special effects in Bewitched, but the show was severely constrained by the state of technology at the time. For example, during her house cleaning phase, producers essentially stopped recording while personnel cleared the set. They started rolling again after the stage was clear. Montgomery, however, was forced to remain still and uncomfortable until everything was finished. Play another character. Alice Ghostly portrayed the housekeeper Esmeralda in 15 Bewitched episodes. She was first asked to take over as nosy neighbor Mrs. Kravitz from the late Alice Pierce. Ghostly was hesitant to follow in her friend's footsteps and felt the same way when she was asked to join the show following Marion Lorne's passing. But producer Bill Asher informed her that Esmeralda would not be a direct substitute for Aunt Clara, but rather a figure akin to her. Discovered by a nun. York did not follow a conventional path to become well-known. His talents were found by a nun, not by a representative or a theater instructor. York was encouraged to pursue a singing career by one of his school sisters, and he was presumably happy that his mother did, since he got his first regular gig on the radio sitcom That Brewster Boy when he was 15. The show canceled. A lot of programs have been canceled as a result of the decline in enrollment. Conversely, Bewitched was not one of them. Before the final episode aired in 1972, the comedy was purportedly renewed for 2 more years. Where, then, did everything go wrong? Montgomery essentially made up her mind that she could no longer twitch her nose. Days spent on set with Asher were challenging because, at the same time, the actress's marriage to him was disintegrating. Show was challenging. Moorhead believed the role did not fully highlight her strengths, although she still seemed to enjoy her time as Endora. "It's fun to do the show, but when can we act?" Pilato claimed she once told York. Hurt, however, Moorhead has skill. She had starred in Citizen Kane and collaborated with Orson Welles' Mercury Theater rep group in the past. Sad end. Montgomery was taken much too soon, as you may remember. It might surprise you to learn that the Bewitched actress had a colon cancer diagnosis just 2 months before her passing. Unfortunately, the illness had reached stage 4 by that time. Chris Foxworth, Montgomery's boyfriend, told Cancer Today that the actress had been experiencing symptoms for a while before going to the doctor.